I never really had I've never been massively interested in art per se, like contemporary art or visual art. Way more to do with cinema and music and literature, really. But my father was a graphic designer who was a hobbyist artist, and my mother taught art, so it was very much in the family, I suppose. And I rebelled against that for a long time and wanted to do something else. But actually, obviously the difference between studying art at school and coming out the other end of many years of studying, the difference is vast, so there wasn't, I guess, watching films as a kid, particularly animation stuff, people like Jan Schwankmeyer, but also people like Werner Herzog and Robert Bresson, very particular people that were quite big moments for me, I suppose, and they continue to be hugely influential on what I make. Yeah. So most of the work starts with writing, really. Usually, more often than not, a kind of rule, like I will only write in the future tense, or really simple fundamental things that kind of start you off, which then you can break. Or there was a piece that I made a while ago called Us Dead Talk Love that begins with this phrase over and over again, I wanted to ask, which has a wonderful kind of collapse within it about the failure of doing something in the past, but also when it's spoken, it kind of inaugurates a present tense. So those kind of games, in a way, which start to feel like the scaffold, the structure of something which content then it can then sort of emerge from and be supported on. But I never really wanted to get rid of the scaffold. I never really wanted to disappear the workings. I kind of always wanted to show how things were made at the same time as building upon them, so never to kind of relinquish the ground, I suppose, or the fact of language or the fact of video or the technology itself, the apparatus. I never really wanted to get rid of that. So that still remains something that through the writing and the music and the sound and all of it really is its artifice and its construction is very visible, very pertinent and actually felt, I think.
No, from now on I will look like this. From now on, this is actually my head. This is actually my face. This is my actual face in reality. No, really, this is what I look like. This is what I will look like from now on. This is what I look like now.
There was a piece I made for this 14 rooms thing at Art Basel last year, 2014, called No One Is More Work Than Me. Work is in scare quotes. And it's an 8-hour long performance for Avatar. So I just got a bit drunk and improvised this rather horrible diatribe for a proprietary model, like a bald-headed white guy who's got a bit of a nosebleed and a bruised eye. It's a moot point whether he's in pain, but it's a horribly kind of demanding. It's a performance. It's a deeply narcissistic performance because obviously I sat there for 8 hours staring at the feedback of this computer-generated figure back at me. So there's a strange performance for a mirror, essentially, but a mirror that, well, like all mirrors, isn't real. And yet you fulfill the desire of that thing. So there's kind of a complicated thing that's going on behind the scenes, but the final thing is a video. And in Basel it was accompanied by a real person sitting by it wearing a chroma key hood. So there's a kind of more explicit decapitation there and a shift of body and its representation in certain ways. But it's constantly asking, sort of demanding that you look at it, that you empathize with it. It sings snippets of Bryan Adams. That was a weird one. But that was, again, it was like the kind of ludicrousness of engaging with real-time duration in situations which don't require that. The computer-generated thing exists in strained parallel kind of temporal modes. To speak of the internet or to speak of computers per se doesn't interest me at all, but more about a continuing thing, which is obviously eons old, is the idea of certain technologies that disappear material realities, I suppose. So
This is how I've always looked. This is how my head actually is. This is how my head actually is. This is what it's like. This is what it's like. This is what it's like to have a head like this. It's not what it's like. No, not even like. What's the line? What's the line?
One way of thinking about this would be, you know, that a lot of the, and it often comes down to language. It often comes down to this idea that if we speak about the cloud as somewhere where we store data, there's a kind of convenience of that language that is kind of insidious, that makes us maybe imagine, or at least the effect is one of not having to worry about a kind of reality, but that it goes off into the ether. Or when we think of wirelessness, Wi-Fi or something, that of course there are wires, they're just not present. So really it's a deferral of matter rather than its disappearance. It's not an immaterial or dematerialized state. It's a more dangerous kind of rendition elsewhere. So in the same way that I guess a global kind of industries or kind of digital situations, there are still bodies laboring in sweatshops or people in mines digging up precious ores to make iPhones and things. It's just that the technology is so advanced or so capable of kind of disappearing those realities. And so for me, to try and almost satirize that or burlesque it in some way has become kind of interesting. It's about literality and figuration, and how certain things should be understood as literally true or figuratively true. And the effect of both, there's a deep sense of an ethical responsibility about how one deals with both of those things. So really making computer-generated films and writing in particular ways, all of these things are of a piece. Really the use of apparently contemporary technology is a vehicle for maintaining a discussion which has been going on forever about representation, about figuration, about reality, I suppose.
Look into my eyes, and you will find that special something. Not something, someone. You will find that special someone.
I've been fantasizing about coming here ever since I knew I was coming, you know, just imagining that it would be a chance for a shift. I think I've been producing a lot recently, and very excitably, but also I'd like to write a lot more. I'd also like to kind of reclaim processes that don't require... There's something about sitting in front of a computer with headphones on, listening to everything and paying attention to every single frame is a very particular headspace to get into. So I'd like to find a parallel one that could... Also, I've never had a studio like this. I mean, I've had a spare bedroom, but all of this space and time, I'd like to use it for something. I don't know. More, I mean, I don't want to stop making the videos, but I kind of want to pull back a little bit and retrieve some research time and some... I don't know, I wanted to get a piano in here, I think. So...